Warning, this video contains spoilers and potential spoilers from the Battle for Azeroth and the Before the Storm novel. But if you don't care for these spoilers, you may
stick around!
Alright everyone, so we've decided on who will be the next allied races. As you may know, we already have the Lightforged Draenei, the High Mountain Tauren, Void Elves, Nightborn, Mag'har Orcs, the Dark Iron Dwarves, Zandalari Trolls, and of course the Kultiran humans. Deciding on our next will be purely focused on what the player base wants as a whole.
High Elves?
Mok'nathal, or Ogres, maybe. Broken?
Wildhammer.
Naga?
Mecha-Gnomes. Hey, wait. Isn't she an end boss?
Vrykul. Hosen? Oak. Tuskarr.
Oh no, certainly not any of those races. Not a single one of those is what the player base wanted. No. What they want is the Sandlane and the Vulpera.
What?
Not to mention more Lightforged and Voided races.
No, Blizzard.
Yup, we're gonna have more races than ever, cursed by the Void and the Light. It's gonna be great for upcoming expansions.
No!
Blizzard, yes! Ha 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 ha!
Goel! I heard you call out. What's happened?
Fire, Agra. It's coming for us. Unstoppable. Unending rage.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the voices of those characters. They'll all be cast down below in the description if you want to know who voiced them. But I want to thank them again for their amazing work. Now, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about the allied races once again. Last year, right before Blizzcon, I uploaded a video in discussion on sub-races. Now, they're not sub-races anymore, but in a similar fashion, we'll be talking about potential allied races, as I do believe we'll get some form of announcement of new allied races coming in future patches, and maybe just some more of these on here will show. Lots of hype behind BlizzCon, hype especially with those newly announced heritage armors. That's gonna be so good. Give me some of that amazing Durotan armor, Blizzard, for my orc, please. So yes, let us indulge our creative minds into what is possible to come for this year's BlizzCon. I do want to clarify before I begin that these are my guesses and assumptions on what they could do, based mostly around skeletons and so if a race you really want isn't on here, I'm greatly sorry, but it doesn't mean Blizzard won't make them a reality in the future. Also, most of these will include fan-made ideas or theories, so do not take them all so seriously, as they're more mon-canon than anything. With that all being said, let's get right into this and talking about some races I could see happening for the Alliance and the Horde. These are not in any particular order, by the way. The Vulpera are a race of nomadic fox people living in Muldoon on Zandalar. Some of them are also found on Goltiris as pirates in Freehold. During the Zandalari's findings for General Jakrazet, the Horde and the Zandalari gained them as allies during their time in Muldoon. Speculation time. G-Firepaw, leader of the Hoaujin, will be put to the test recruiting the Vulpera, as Gaelic showed little interest in recruiting them, or any allied race. Thankfully, the Horde has already shown them great kindness and trade, and would be able to recruit the Vulpera into the Horde's ranks by putting an end to the Sethrak threat for good. Appearances. They would have jewelry, different colored coats, and piercings. Their mount would be the alpaca. Their allegiances would be with the Horde faction. They would be led by Kiro. Their classes would be hunters, rogues, monks, shamans, priests, warriors, and mages. Yeah, I know, the Vulpera are a delicate subject matter for many people, but I personally quite like them in Vol'dun, and I would think they would be an interesting addition to the ranks of the Horde. I mean, you get an alpaca mount for crying out loud, I think that's worth it enough. The High Elves, or Quel'Drai, children of noble birth in Darnassian and Thelassian, are a race descended from the highborn Night Elves, who left Kalimdor and settled in the Eastern Kingdoms. Founding Quel'Thalas, a majority of them are now Blood Elves, but these are those that call themselves High Elves, mostly found in Dalaran under the Silver Covenant and elsewhere. Speculation time! Banished or exiled from their homelands and betrayed by their former people, the High Elves have since remained within the Alliance. However, their people become divided across the planet and are becoming more and more isolated, or something else. Together, Vereesa and the mighty hero of the Alliance have unified them all once again under the Alliance banner, as a mighty faction to face all who would oppose them and their allies. Appearances: blue eyes, face paint / war paint, jewelry, and beards. Their mount would be a unicorn. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. They would be led by Vereesa Windrunner, youngest of the three sisters. Their classes would be hunters, rogues, mages, priests, paladins, warriors, and monks. Now, I understand the controversy of the High Elves and Blizzard's response on this race, but I could see it happening in the near or late future. I understand the elf fatigue some of us might be feeling, and well, they could make them simply a part of the Void Elves in appearance if they really have to. I know it would make many people happy to be able to play as the High Elven race. The Broken are a devoted subrace of Draenei who live in Outland, and are mutated after being exposed to fell energies wielded by orc warlocks. Many tribes have joined or become enslaved by the Illidari. When the Dark Portal reopened, several of them tried to get to it and escape Outland. There are those that were also found on their home planet of Argus, transformed as well by the fell energies on their beloved home. Speculation time! After the heroes of the Alliance, Horde, and the Army of the Light were successful in the defeat of the Burning Legion, the homeworld of the Draenei, Argus, was now under the threat of both the Void and Death. The planet is now about to fall apart, and the Broken must escape from it all. With the re-arrival of Prophet Velen and the Vindicaar, they are provided the means to escape. However, Velen, under the wisdom of Nabundo, also decides to recruit the elusive Akama and the Broken there, on Outlands, to join their ranks. Appearances: fell and blue eyes, piercings, hair tentacles, and runes. Their mount would be a fell-corrupted Elec. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. They would be led by Akama, Chief Hatun, and Nabundo. Their classes: hunters, rogues, shamans, warlocks, priests, warriors, monks, and mages. I feel like the Broken should have been what we got instead of the Lightforged Draenei, personally. But hey, they can at least get these guys at a later date, at the very least. I would love to see some interactions between Akama, Hatun, or even Velen, and any of these Brokens in the near future. That would be just phenomenal. The Sand Lane, also known as the Darkfallen, are vampire blood elves in service to the Scourge. They used to be among Kael'thas Sunstrider's greatest followers until they were raised into undeath by Arthas, following Illidan's Stormrage's failed assault on the Frozen Throne. Speculation time. As of recent events, Sylvanas Windrunner has recruited them into the ranks of the Horde. After the defeat of their kind, they had little elsewhere to go or elsewhere to be. Sylvanas, understanding their plight, completely being undead herself and once being shackled to the Lich King, offered them a place within her Horde. And after the Alliance's 7th Legion destroyed one of their leaders, it became clear that the Alliance would wipe them out. So in full, the Sandlane race would officially join the Horde and take Northrend from the Scourge, from them, and their new allies. Appearances: red, blue, and yellow eyes, dark pale skin, fangs, jewelry, and gothic makeup. Mount: it would be a skeletal bat. Their allegiance would be with the Horde faction, led by Prince Therodis. Their classes would be hunters, rogues, priests, warriors, mages, death knights, and warlocks. Now again, elf fatigue is strong with this one. While I'm not particularly a fan of this allied race, I can see it definitely possible with their inclusion to the Alliance's war campaign, and undead elves are quite popular too. They're like the only faction I believe that isn't undead elves, so you can live out your dreams of being an undead elf like Sylvanas and her Dark Rangers, finally. Vrykul are a race of fearsome half-giant warriors native to the Howling Fjord, and are located in southeastern Northrend. They are the progenitors of the human race, who were original Vrykul offspring, that were born weak and deformed as a result of the curse of flesh. While most Vrykul dwelled in Northrend, thousands of years ago a group of them migrated to the sacred region of Stormheim, near the center of Kalimdor, in search of their true gods. Speculation time! The Vrykul have long been divided both by sea, tradition, and leadership. That ended when Sigryn took on the mantle of leadership and became the Queen of the Tidescorn. Chosen by Odin and Ymir to lead the people, she would be Odin's voice. However, when Sylvanas Windrunner once more tries to obtain Ymir and her Vrykul, it leads to many deaths and threatens the Vrykul's way of life. The Alliance offers the Vrykul their aid and a place within their ranks. With the Kavaldir also sworn under Odin now, they too would join their people's ranks, led by Ymiron. They also managed to bring in some of the Vrykul from Northrend. Appearances: they could have blue, green, and pale skins, and runic tattoos. Their mount would be an armored shovel tusk. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. They would be led by Odin, Sigryn, and Ymiron. Their classes would be warriors, hunters, mages, shamans, paladins, priests, death knights, and monks. While the Vrykul might be a big race and similar to the Koltirians, I do think that they would be a perfect fit for the Alliance, given what Sylvanas did or tried to do. They have an established leader and could be a nice new taste for the Alliance that they could really use. I've always wanted to play a Vrykul myself, and I think it'd be really neat for them to finally add them. The Mok'nathal is a clan consisting of half-ogres, half-orc hybrids, though it accepts members of other races as well. In the past, they were created by the ogres to be their army, but because of orcish clans of old, they managed to break from their master's chains and buy freedom with the aid of the orcish clans. However, they would decide to live in isolation and in peace from the other orc clans on Draenor. Speculation time! The Mok'nathal had long since avoided the Horde, and while some had joined in its ranks, it remained isolated and away from violence unless it was necessary. However, as Outlands continues to drift and fall apart at the seams, and Leorox draws his final breath, it becomes clear that Outlands is no longer capable of sustaining the Mok'nathal. Learning of this, Rexxar returns to his people with the promise of a new home and a new horde. After gaining their trust, the Mok'nathal officially joins the ranks of the Horde. Appearances: yellow, purple, green, red, and blue skin, ogre war paint, and other ogre-like features. Their mount would be a Outlands cleft hoof. Their allegiance would be with the Horde faction. They would be led by a Rexxar. Their classes would be hunters, shamans, druids, warriors, monks, and rogues. Probably an allied race you don't hear me shut up about. I would really like it if these guys became a reality. And given they share animations with the Colterians, I would say it is extremely possible for them to become an allied race in the near future. As to why they might be druids, despite not being seen as one before, they are a clan very in touch with nature, and I can see them being capable of being druids quite possibly. Hoping to see these guys soon. Just take my money, Blizzard. Take it now. Mok'nathal had been killed by Sylvanas Rinrunner when she had become a clear threat to her rule. But in doing so, she created an enemy who would seek to reclaim her throne. By killing Kalia, she gave the true heir of Lordaeron the ultimate weapon to reclaim Lordaeron. With her death came her rebirth. Mok'nathal would be the first in recorded history to be brought back from death and be risen by the Naaru. As not a Forsaken, attributing to death's features, but a being of the light. Now, speculation time. Following the events of Before the Storm, Kalia and Alonsis Follow would discuss her new powers and what it entailed. Through research and teachings of the Naaru, she would be able to converge any who had died, or who was willing to be Lightforged in death. Anduin, who had become quite close to Kalia, would service her and her Lightforged Undead in the Alliance's ranks. Together, they would reclaim Lordaeron in the name of the Holy Light. Appearances: they would have gold, glowing eyes, bright skin, and unique hairstyles. Their mount would be a reformed skeletal steed. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. They would be led by Mok'nathal and Uther the Lightbringer. Their classes would be hunters, priests, monks, rogues, warriors, paladins, and mages. Now, I joked about the whole light or void race, but in this sense it could work to help contrast the very dark and brooding Forsaken. It definitely seems like this would be a possibility, given we have Turalyon, in a way, and Kalia after the events of Before the Storm, as they are both Lightforged humans. I would assume it would be a much more happier-looking Thanos model, or maybe just a more polished and good-looking Forsaken with a straight back and better looks. When Gnomeregan became too dangerous to inhabit, the gnomes had to escape from it. Trogs and leper gnomes would soon inhabit its walls in their stead. While many leper gnomes would lose their sanity or join the Horde, or Thermoplug, some would find respite in their engineering. These gnomes would find methods to replacing their slowly decomposing body parts with their engineering prowess, becoming both flesh and machine. Speculation time! Mekkatorque fully intends to finally take Gnomeregan with Thermoplug and most of his minions taken care of. And with his new robotic parts he had acquired after his encounter with Galvix, he is stronger than before. However, there remains to be some inhabitants that Mekkatorque is unsure of. He sends the Alliance hero and the SAFE to join with him in investigating these curious leper gnomes. To his discovery, these gnomes would be both mechanical and flesh, much like himself. Some would be friendly and others would not. Together, they would unite with one another and retake Gnomeregan from Thermoplug's vile offsprings, and join together in union under the Alliance. Appearances: mechanical body parts throughout the body, green and regular skin tones. Their mount would be a cyborg strider. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. Their classes would be hunters, priests, warlocks, rogues, warriors, monks, and mages. Bit more of my own little fun fan idea, but I think it could work out if you include the leper gnomes in a way. There is some data files, including the junker gnomes, hence why I call them that. And alternatively, you could do the same with the Mecha-Gnomes, but I feel like a cyborg gnome would be a lot more interesting. A gnome with robotic ears and eyes and legs and arms? That just sounds cool to me. And I would personally play one, indefinitely. This seems to be foreshadowed as well, with Mekkatorque's encasement in 8.1 on the PTR currently. Ogres are large, brutish humanoids of notable strength native to Draenor, which they refer to as Dogar, the known earth in their language. Descendants of the various stone giants known as the Breakers, the ogres were originally enslaved by their progenitors, the Ogron. Over the years, ogre influence gradually waned across the world, as they were slowly surpassed by their orc descendants, and the Draenei as the dominant races of the world. The ogres eventually accompanied the Old Horde through the Dark Portal to Azshara to participate in the First and Second Wars. Speculation time! The ogres were once proud rulers of Draenor, but now are but a shadow of their former glory. Their clans are dissolved, their people are broken, but they have found strength within the Horde before and will again. Rexxar, once leader of the Stonemaul clan, would be asked by Sylvanas to recruit the ogres of all kinds into the Horde's ranks, and not just the Stonemaul. Begrudgingly, the champion of the Horde would agree, and would set off with the Horde's champion to recruit the ogre clans into the Horde's ranks. To their discovery, the Shadow of Cho'Gall, similar to Sinestra, would already be trying to recruit the ogres into the grip of the old gods once again. With Rexxar's strength and Hero's tenacity, they would stop this dark plot and recruit the ogres fully into the Horde's ranks. Appearances: ogre tattoos, ogre horns, 2 heads, purple, yellow, red, and various other skin tones. Their mount would be a battle boar. Their allegiance would be with the Horde faction. They would be led by Rexxar or Mogdorg the Wizened. Classes: hunters, shamans, warriors, monks, rogues, mages, warlocks, and priests. Yep, Rexxar again. Are you really surprised? Although, if we do end up having either of the two, and not both, this would probably mean we need a different leader of the ogres, preferably an ogre itself. I'd probably do Ogrella's own leader, Mogdorg the Wizened. Understandably, the ogres are also a very big race, but Blizzard could tweak it to make it so they could fit inside of buildings better. This is another must-have race at some point, and if not an allied race, I could see this being a normal race. We get an expansion. It would probably be better that way anyways. The Wildhammer clan is a dwarf clan currently centered mainly in the Hinterlands and the Twilight Highlands, although many others can be found in Kalimdor and Outland as well, and Kul Tiras. Now, a part of the Alliance, the Wild Dwarves hold the Horde as enemies. The Wildhammer Dwarves are hill dwarves or mountain dwarves, renowned for their close bond with griffins. They treat these animals as equals in battle instead of pets, leading to numerous successes in the Second War and Third War. They also value nature and have close ties to shamanism. Speculation time! Much of the Wildhammer lands had been taken by the Horde or the forces of the Void, but no longer would they tolerate such. Finally, the Wildhammer would lay claim to Grim Patrol and end the curse that had laid dormant there. Together with the Alliance backing them, the Wildhammers would end the curse created by Modgud, and reclaim their home once and for all. Officially join the Alliance in fold, similar to their Dark Iron cousins as of recent. Appearances: face paint, tattoos, and unique beard styles. Their mount would be a Wildhammer Griffin. Their allegiance would be with the Alliance faction. They would be led by Falstad Wildhammer. Their classes would be hunters, shamans, warriors, monks, rogues, priests, paladins, and maybe druids. Now, I know we just got Dark Iron, but to be honest, I would have preferred to have Wildhammers. All the same, we could probably just have Dwarven face paint and just say that they joined the Alliance during Cataclysm, but I feel like this would do them more justice. I really like the let's reclaim this as our city type of story, as you may have noticed. The Taunka, also known as Winter Tauren, are an ancient offshoot of the Yongle and relatives to the Tauren, who have adapted to the harsh environment in Northrend. Unlike their more peaceful Tauren relatives, the Taunka forcibly bend nature and the elements to their will in order to survive. The Taunka were long thought to be lost until they were rediscovered by Garrosh Hellscream and his orc forces upon their arrival in Northrend. Due to them being forced to migrate from their homes by the encroaching scourge, the Taunka have largely given their allegiance to the Horde. Speculation time! After the defeat of the Scourge, Northrend has for the most part been quiet and peaceful for the Taunka, but the Scourge was not fully undone, and the Lich King was still a threat. Because of this, the Taunka would once more be swarmed by the undead, and this time they did not have the Horde to help them. This disturbing news would be relayed back to Bane Bloodhoof, who had not so long ago heard of these mighty Taunka. Joined by his betrothed Mela Highmountain, the two would go with the Horde hero to help these Taunka and end the tides of Scourge. Afterwards, the Taunka would officially join the ranks of the Horde and pledge to fight any who would do them harm. Appearances, nose piercings, war paint and tattoos, unique coats, and horn styles. Their mount would be the Fuzzy Warkoto. Their allegiance would be with the Horde faction. They would be led by Ronak Icemist. Their classes would be shamans, hunters, warriors, druids, monks, death knights, and priests. While I understand that we just got High Mountain and Legion, there are plenty of races on this list that we quote-unquote just got, and I'd assume by the time we get to some of these, the faction war or the threats we're facing will be rather different. I'd say Taunka would be perfect for when Bolvar is a threat again. I love to see these updated Taunkas personally. They'd probably be more liked than the High Mountain with how different they can appear. I'm sure some of these will or won't happen in the near future, but it's fun to talk about it, and even speculate on. What sort of allied races would you like to see in the near future, friends? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in for another one of my videos. If you like what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and follow me on Twitch, or support me on my Patreon. There's also links down below where you also can find me. I can't wait to see what's to come from Blizzcon, and I can't wait to talk about it with you all. But until next time guys, see ya.